what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
So let's do this. Snapchat fell almost 40% Friday on poor earnings report. What are two biggest lessons we can learn from this as investors?
Number one, a stock that is traditionally down, or the direction of the stock is predominantly down, will always return to the place it should be. At one point, everyone was at, and I love Snapchat, so this isn't like the, with other social media companies, right? I like Snapchat, like the platform, think it's hella creative, but the ad revenue is going to be tricky. Number two, which leads to the point of why I dropped. You cannot be reliable on one source or one ally to provide the majority of your revenue. So with the iOS making a change, and I'll say this now about Apple, I don't know if it's going to be a social media project or they're buying the ad business, but Apple is getting into the advertising business in 2023. Heavy. So if they now become your number one competitor, while the way most people get to Snapchat is through iOS, is that detrimental for the business or is that advantageous? For those of you who don't know, that is a hell of a disadvantage. So I know they had a great run. For those of you who like the company, great. But I was saying last year, and of course it ran up, I think 30-40%, but it slid back down. Stocks that are traditionally down go back to where they normally are. Stocks that rise normally go to the top. Now, what should you do? If you see Snap was taken off for the last 4 or 5 months, you can trade it. I don't have an issue with that, but you shouldn't hold it for a long-term investment. I mean, Snap is almost at its all-time low. Type in chat what their all-time low is. They were a couple bucks away from hitting that on Friday. But if you're a believer in the company, that $5 price is a good price to load up, but I wouldn't want to put my retirement funds into a company that is worth that little.
Snapchat this year, its 52-week high is $83. It's currently at $9.88 in after hours.
Yeah, I think if you go back, like I think in episode 3 we were talking about the death of Snapchat, right? On our third episode we were talking about it, and then obviously when it ran up, we got on here and said, look, we said it died, it didn't die. But I think you nailed it. That second point with having contingency plans, and we talk about it as entrepreneurs having multiple streams. When you rely on ads and the ad business isn't booming, well, what's next? And so they kind of in the midst of all this try to release that premium plan, but it's like the ship is sinking right now. Like people don't want to have the premium plan. Why would we pay $4 so that we can tag our friends? We just go through our chat in Apple or iChat or iCloud. So it's like you try to come up with the revenue source. It's just that the timing of it was bad. You should have had something prepared prior to this. This is one of the things that Shadi always stresses. Like when we create a new source of income, it's like, all right, this is cool, but what's the next thing? Like we're always thinking about what's the next thing. How can we build something else, right? This may not always be the main source. Let's figure out how we can add something to it. And so a business like Snapchat, you would think like that would be the contingency as well, right? Like, all right, this ad revenue was working, but what happens one day when that is not the case? How do we survive as a business? And it feels like they got caught in that trap where we're having some really, really, really good success.
They got caught in a bull trap, pretty much.
They rested on it. And now they got caught.
Well, what happens too also is it's a good investing lesson, because there's a difference between a good trade and a long-term investment. Yep. And Snapchat was a good trade on both sides, on the ride up and the ride down. Mm-hmm. You could have put puts on it. But let's talk about the ride up. It definitely had a meteoric.
There you go. You got it. Meteoric. Yeah.
Meteoric ride up.
But just say it with confidence. It always works.
I said what I did, man.
Oh man. But I think it's extremely important to understand, all you got to do is use a little bit of common sense. Anybody that's in the social media world knows that Snapchat is not a strong company. They're not in the top 4 of anybody's own personal favorites.
Top 4?
You got Instagram, you got TikTok, you got Twitter, you got Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
So
it's in the 5. I got you.
So I mean, long term, I don't think anybody that really was, a rational minded person thought that Snapchat is a strong company that really was going to change the world long term. So I say that to say it's a lot of these type of AMC, Snapchat, like a lot of these companies, it's good trades. You can just ride the momentum up, but be careful because it's not based on anything that's solid.
Yeah.
And it's like a balloon. And when it gets too high, it's going to pop and then it's just going to come back down. So Snapchat was a perfect example. Like you said, we said on episode 3, before we even had a YouTube channel, that Snapchat was dead. It didn't go the way we thought it would, but it's back to where we thought it would now. So, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for things to happen, but when the writing's on the wall, usually that's how it plays out.
Yeah, and they had what was interesting is like if you look at their earnings, right? One of the things is that you saw subscriber growth grow, and so people are like, oh wait, they had 3 million more subscribers than they did last quarter, which is cool, but how are they making money?
Subscribers and likes mean nothing if
they
you
don't
can't monetize with them.
If people are not paying to put ads on that platform, they're not going to make money.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you have a platform and you start off for free, it's very hard to charge a lot on it. We've seen it with Netflix as well. That's why competing based on price is a bad thing. And then on top of that, I know somebody in the comments when this gets clipped up, they're going to be like, well, they do have a good ad model, but where the ads are placed is not the place where people are actually using the platform. So unless you put ads where the messages are, or as soon as you open up the app, which people will die and they'll stop using the app, I don't see how they will be able to build a significant ad business on top of that, in addition to Apple killing off part of their advertising stream. So it's tough. Like innovative company, just the wrong business model.
Yeah. Hit the like button. Almost 5,000 people on YouTube. Hit the like button and share, please. Thank you. Let's talk about this. This is the big one that everybody wants to talk about. Nancy Pelosi.
Shout out to the S&P queen.
Oh,
the real
investor. Oh my goodness. And we spoke about her.
Hey, auntie.
Nancy Pelosi. She's at it. She's at it again. She's one of the greatest investors of our era.
Apparently.
It's like, well, she stole the jacket in Houston, put it on, right back to DC.
I mean, the timing of these trades is impeccable.
She's definitely a legendary investor, trader. Her positions have been legendary, and they're all public information. So that's what makes it even more in like a story. But they're saying that it's going too far. They're talking about potentially having regulation on politicians. So what's this Nancy Pelosi story all about, and how is it relevant to the average investor?
All right, so I'm gonna give you a story and then we can comment on it. So the latest thing that has happened, right? We spoke about Apple probably in December when we talked about the time she's buying call options and having puts. So she bought up between 1 million and 5 million in shares of the computer chip darling NVIDIA. All right, she exercised her call options on June 17th, according to documents. So what happened? When she executed the trade, it happened at the same time that Congress announced that they're moving closer to passing tens of billions of dollars in corporate welfare subsidies for U.S. semiconductor productions. So why does that make sense? Well, if they're going to spend tens of billions of dollars on semiconductors,
and she votes on it,
she votes on that, and it's a U.S. company, and it's probably one of the top 3 in the semiconductor space, you can see how this could be a conflict of interest, right? She has that type of information. We don't have that information, and she makes a call on it and sells, and now she has the option to have 5 million shares. You can see how this could be kind of confusing to the average consumer, right? They actually, and this happened today, a congressman actually was subpoenaed. I forget his name. I'll get his name in a sec, but he just got subpoenaed for insider trading. He had information, made a trade.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it different? Is it any different?
Is it any different?
Than what it will.
And technically, it's her husband. Her husband's trading.
Her husband is trading, and then they're reporting it as soon as they do it. So with the insider trader, it's very tricky, and I don't want to upset or offend anybody, retail or institutional. But there are laws that will allow you. They'll tell you what insider trading is, and if you stick to these rules, that will prevent you from getting pinched. She's sticking to it. Do I think it's unfair? Yes. But do I think this is what most politicians do? I think she's just the best to do it. She's like Frank Lucas stuff. She's like the ones that's parading the wins in front of the public. And that's what really has people upset. But for everyone that's listening, you should go to housestockwatcher.com. No affiliation. So if they sell anything, I'm not affiliated. We're not affiliated, but you can track where her trades are. Now, NVIDIA is one of the ones that I've loved forever. Apple, I love, right? So when you have a person like her that is going to vote on if we're going to build chips here in America and it's going to pass, and then she puts her money behind it, or her husband does, you probably should follow the money trail. Like if I get note from 50 that he's going to sign an artist for $5,000, Betha, for $5,000.
We're going to talk about that.
Shout
out to Mace.
And then they gonna walk them right into Def Jam or Sony. I'm like, yeah, I should bet on that artist as well, right? We have to do the same thing with stocks. I think I know it can be disheartening and be like, well, those that are rich always find ways to get richer, but in this system there is no equality. We have to just know that. But maybe we can piggyback off of her traits and do well that way. Nancy's smart, man. And if you think she's the only one who's doing it here and with government contracting and with building businesses overseas, she's not. She's the only one that's really just paraded it. So yeah, it sucks, but use the information that she's given to make yourself rich in the process.
Yeah, and since that was announced, the shares, since the news came out about the government supporting the $1 billion bill for semiconductors, NVIDIA's price is going up by 10%, which helps the amount of shares that they bought. And they're not buying like 10,000 or 20,000; they're spending millions of dollars. And so you do the math on that, $5 million. You figure out how many shares that is. Each one of them go up 10%.
What's the website called? What's the website called again?
I think it's House Stock Watch. Let me look.
House Stock Watcher.
Yeah, they put it.
Yep.
House Stock Watcher.
HouseStockWatcher.com.
That allows you to see what politicians are buying, what stocks they're buying.
Yeah, and if they go to the Mark Cuban episode and the one after from last year, there was a couple sites I put in there as well. You go to OpenInsider.com. There's a few sites that'll let you see what they're buying actively. Yeah. Therefore, segue, you should go listen to all previous Market Mondays episodes. I know some of you like, when you gonna put out a book? I was telling Stock Club last week. I'm like, the book was last season. I gave everything in slide format. So I know y'all be like, yo, when the slides? I'm like, gotta write another book. Gotta wait.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Your boy going